People, DG, I'm back again. Thank you very much for watching and rocking and tuning in with me. Now, I feel with the international break, I've been putting this video off for a while. You lot know me. First and foremost, I love young players. I find my YouTube sort of career or platform quite ironic, people, in the sense of what you lot actually is my most viewed stuff, or what I'm getting, making a sort of way in, is actually not necessarily what I wanted to do or set out for. Like, I love young. It sounds so mad to say that, so you lot know I'm not on a funny man thing or funny people thing, but I love young players. I love to watch youth and whatnot, people. That's the root of it. And if it was up to me, I'd be a nobody scouting and coaching, and you didn't know who the hell I was. But that's not how the cookie crumbles. I like Arsenal young players, of course, and I feel it was a good time to kind of review some of these young players' performances. Not no in depth, nothing, just a couple general thoughts of who's been catching my eye in that. Now, before we crack on, with the players necessarily, in relation to the under-23 season and the under-18s, admittedly, I should have done my research. I don't actually know where we are in the table, people, but I'll check that in a second. But right off the top of my head, with the under-18s, I don't think we're going to retain the title. We've got a very young squad. They're learning. At the end of the day, the under-18s title is lovely and would be nice to win and retain it, because it's nice to win anything. But I don't think we're going to do it. We've got a young squad. They're still developing. 23s, in relation to the 23s, I think we've done all right. I say the big theme of both levels is probably game management needs to improve. See out games, especially at 23s level. There's been a couple of times when the games are kind of getting closed out, we're conceding late goals, but players are doing well. The main thing is developing. Obviously, Arsenal are a football club that cares about youth development. You're seeing Saka, Tyrese John-Jules is sadly he's just coming back from an injury. But prior to that, you saw what he could do in pre-season. You saw what Burton could do. Oli Inca's, that you see what these young players can do. Whether they make it full-time at Arsenal is a completely different thing, but it's nice to see that this club is making an active effort for these young players to make it here. Now, people, I really should, like I said, I'm just going to quickly check the league tables of either side. I don't want to see, just show me the league table, man. Thank you. This is so unprofessional of me, people. I apologise, but we're third, people. We've only lost once. We've drawn 5. We've won 4, and we've played 10. So from under 23 perspective, it's pretty decent. Derby got a good academy, as you know, are ahead of us. And usual suspects in Chelsea, you know Chelsea's academy, and you know a lot of their players, similar to under 23 in football in general, shouldn't be playing at this level, should be trying to test themselves and whatnot elsewhere. And that's through no fault of their own. The model of football is what it is. It's almost a broken dynamic. It's almost... Football is crazy, man, especially these young players. Like, again, I was going to say something, but I don't want to create no controversy, but footballers, especially young players, are essentially cattle, because many are selected, few are chosen. A lot of these players are sourced over from everywhere in the world, and few of them are going to make it, not just at Chelsea or Arsenal or anywhere, but slim chances of making it anywhere. But that's why I say people saw everything in football. They might have a different view on players, but if you're getting your development, if you're improving financially, if you're making the most of these connections, you get what you can out of these clubs in general, people. Leicester are 4th. In relation to our under-18s, like I said, people, it's been a bit of a mad season from an Arsenal perspective. We sit 8th on 9 points. So yeah, man, we've tasted defeat 4 times. We've drawn 3 games, winning only 2. Like I said, we've got a young squad, a lot of first-year scholars. Miguel Aziz has played well. A lot of young players have shined, but we've got to learn in it. They're adjusting, training, let alone playing in quick succession, but they're training every day now. They're still developing physically. Someone who's physically amazing at 18, when he gets to 20, he might get physically weights and whatnot by people. People at 16, 1 minute they're physically underdeveloped, the next minute they're 6 foot something. Look at Scott McTominay. That was well documented on Sky Sports. He shot up in size quite rapidly, people. And you hear about Joe Willock coming into the first team, people, how he had one leg was growing larger than the other. So I'm not saying that that's happening with any young players, but you don't necessarily know these sort of intricate inner finer details, what's going on, people. It's a young squad. They've got a couple first-year scholars, and Greenwood's played the usual suspects. Sam Greenwood's a madness. Ben Cottrell's a great player, in my opinion. 2 great young players. yeah, I think we've under 18s have really suffered from Matt Smith, Trae Coyle, Tyrese, Saka, all of these players advancing from this level, whether they're not at the club anymore or just gone on to first team. But it is what it is. But I've started rambling about just showing my passion for young players, people. Let's actually talk about the specific players now. First player I want to talk about, I cannot say his name, but that young Romanian lad we signed, Cottrell, I believe. From what I've seen for the under 18s, he looks fairly decent. Technically, can break the lines well, gets couple assists, good passing range. Can see why he's brought into Arsenal's institution and whatnot. Got a bit of physical development to do, but I like him, man. He relishes the dirty aspects of the game, can improve defensively, but he doesn't shy away from it. I like what I see him from that young lad. Obviously, the usual suspects. Sam Greenwood's been alright, been great in my opinion. Ben Cottrell's been good. Matt Smith has been decent. You've obviously got Balogun and Tyrese, either side of their injuries. Hopefully Balogun makes a speedy recovery. Tyrese is back. They've both been firing. The usual Arsenal suspects you'd expect at this level are doing their thing, and I well document them. But so I've tried not to focus on them because I'll document it anyways. Pardon me. Going off topic a bit, I don't know when Mavropanos will get game time for the first team, but in the under 23s he looks fit and sharp, and potentially in January we've got to look to loan him out if he isn't going to get game time at this club. But the young Romanian lad Catalans look decent. Miguel Aziz has looked decent as well. Very good passing range. Chipped him with some important goals. Signed his first professional contract. Fingers crossed, that's a player for the future in Arsenal's perspective. Let's let him develop. He's calm, but he's a terrific player in my opinion. Ironically, you keep hearing me say injuries. I think Kiddo Taylor-Hart does it look decent. Kiddo's look fairly decent as well, if I've said his name correctly. He's improving physically. He's a wonderful dribbler. Sadly, he's out for a couple of months with an injury as well. So it sucks, but this is something these young pros got to get used to, and hopefully he bounces back. I mean, club like Arsenal, you'd think he'd be surrounded by the best physios and whatnot. So hopefully he makes a speedy recovery. I've been impressed with Harry Clarke at centre-half, people. Again, if he's looking at his long-term future at Arsenal, it's probably a myth because guys like Ben Shafe is out on loan, ironically playing more in midfield than at centre-half, but he's probably ahead of him. Medley's had a rotten time with injuries and is getting his way back now and has been featuring, but he's ahead of him. Ballard's been recalled from his loan, but he's ahead of him. You've got McGuinness playing decent. You've got Mavropanos now getting game time here. Holding at a period was playing for 23s to get fitness. So my point is game time is limited. There's a lot of centre-half, so he had to relish that battle, and he's done that. For me, he's been one of the first names on the team sheet. Good passing range, sticks to his task well. Whether he's going to make it at Arsenal is another thing, but he's relished the battle, fighting with Medley, who forgive me if I'm wrong, was the captain at a point for 23s and was trying to go out on loan, and Bold said, no, I want you to stay. So his situation will probably be reviewed in January. From a selfish point of view, if I'm Medley, doesn't look like you're going to get first team football unless something happens at Arsenal. So you've got to look to go and test yourself elsewhere. That's the next step. But I think Harry Clarke has relished that battle. Nathan Butler-Adeji, forgive me for mispronunciation, at under 18s level, can play on either flank. Chipped in with some important goals. He's not the biggest, but he puts in a shift, and I've been impressed with his performances and goals, people, and his technical ability and whatnot. So keep up the development, Nathan. He's been making the difference out there. Ryan Elabusi, I believe, as well, been playing right wing as well as right backs, doing his thing. Daniel Ayoke, he's obviously young Danny's coming back from injury at right back and chipped in with a goal. I really like him, and it remains to be seen whether any of these players are going to make it at Arsenal, but I've got a lot of time for him. I think he's going to have a decent future. I've been impressed with Nathan Tormey as well. Again, I don't know if he'll make the grade at Arsenal in his position playing on the flanks, but whether he's come off the bench or he started, he's chipped in with goals and looked quite decent. Zach Swanson, again, steady Eddie, can play in midfield, can play at centre-half, can play in either side of the fullbacks. He's looked decent. And Trae Coyle, for me, has looked very good at this level now. Trae Coyle came through as a schoolboy. Injuries and whatnot have caused him to stagnate a bit, but he's come back and he's making the difference. For me, he's got to get to that level where the minute they think of this under-23 game, it was the Trae Coyle show, but he's got the ingredients to be a good player. He's good technically. For me, I used to see him on the flanks predominantly, but I actually think he'd make a good 10 long-term or creative player. He's a good player, man, and he's chipping in with goals and whatnot. If he can stay fit, free of injuries, who knows what he could do at the club or elsewhere, because again, I believe he's turning 19 He signed a new deal last season. So it's almost goal time. We've got everybody's path is different, and everybody's developing at different rates. But so far, so good from him. And like I said, these young players in general have impressed me. Obviously, at under 18s level, you've got young Charlie Pantino, who's technically a schoolboy and has been getting a look in at under 18s level, and he's been starting games and he's been chipping in with a couple of assists. He's a very good technical based player. Obviously he's 16, so he's still growing physically, and you can it's actually kind of exciting seeing that with these sort of players getting bigger and whatnot. So you're seeing him. Obviously there's a couple of young players that are going to be decent, man, that I'm looking forward to seeing next season. Kion Edwards, potentially Amari Hutchinson, Taylor Ferran, who else is there? There's a couple of exciting players. Charlie, Marco Flores, if I haven't said it, Moro Bandera, I believe, very good player, very good physically, can pass, can do the basics. Like him a lot, people. Moro, think he's a very good player, but it's down to these players. But you lot know me, I like youth football when it comes down to it, and I'll always be here to offer my 2 pence or such. So on that note, people, Deluded, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking as usual.